What's up, Airsofters? We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to wait for people to sort of pile in today so that we can get started with today's video. I hope that everybody is doing well. I slowly see some people that are entering, but today I just kind of wanted to do like a Friday chill stream. I am getting ready to go to a Milsim event this weekend. I'm going to be at Desert Fox events, Citadel Assault, and I thought, hey, I've got some time in the morning. It's a couple hours till I got to go to work. So I thought that it'd be fun to sit down, answer some questions, and just talk about airsoft. It's been a while since I've been able to do any sort of live stream. So I thought, hey, I've got the time. I don't know if I'm going to have it in the future. Why don't we hang out and do something? So if you want to submit your questions, you can leave them in the live chat. I see one or two of them now from eHouse. And then once we get into it, I'll start to answer some questions. There's some things that I wanted to talk about as well today, but I'd love to make today kind of like a chill stream, just answering your guys' questions, hang out, and just having a good old time. And I see more and more people hopping in. Hope that you're all enjoying your Friday. So I'm really excited to go to this particular game, which is Desert Fox Events, for those of you who just hopped in, because this is the third time that I've been there. And I'm actually really curious to see how they do this particular event, how things are different from the last couple of years that I've been there. So everything's packed downstairs. So unfortunately, I can't show you anything cool on stream because everything's already in its cases and whatnot, ready to go in the car. But I'm just excited to do it. I've got some friends that are running the entire team. So overall, I think that it'll just be a really fun weekend for me. It's also different to be able to like go to a Milsim game and then like drive home after because this is at the same field that I do my open place at. So it's very close for me, which is going to be pretty cool. It's kind of weird, like not having to get a hotel or having to take Friday off to go to work, anything like that. So I am going to start to get into some questions that I see. And the first one I want to answer is from Sniper Hughes, which is what eye protection is going to be best for Milsim. In my opinion, is going to be the best thing that you can keep on for an extended period of time because it's not like an open play where you're going back to the dead box every 15 minutes when the game is over. You want to get something that is comfortable for you for, maybe 8 hours at a time. So for the last couple of years, I've been running the ESS turbofans. I've talked about them in a lot of videos. I talked about them and I think the last video I published as well. And the thing about those is that while they're incredibly good goggles and they keep the fog away, they have the fan, which besides doing like anti-fog, feels really comfortable when it's like 90 degrees out and super humid. You're gonna want the issue with them, and kind of where I'm getting at with this is that they're heavy. And after 8 hours, they kind of suck to wear. So that's why I've kind of thought about switching over to like shooting glass style, like full seal ones, obviously. So things like the ESS crossbows, Oakley M frames. I've been considering switching over to those because while they cover less of your face, like the ESS turbofans they're big goggles compared to glasses. Somebody's going to use that screenshot out of context. I already know it. I really think that I do need to get something that is a little bit lighter. So I guess it would be whatever you can wear for an extended period of time and still be comfortable in while still, having, making sure that they don't fog up, things like that. Because if you have goggles that are going to be ineffective, they fog, they're uncomfortable, whatever it may be, you're going to be less effective on the aerosol field. And that's going to make it so that you don't have a good time. You're not out there getting kills, being helpful, whatever it may be. So making sure that like you test this sort of stuff out before you go out and play is going to be critically important. And hello for everybody that is hopping into the chat. Glad to see that more people are joining the stream. If you have your own questions, you can leave them in the chat below. Um, but yeah, I think that just making sure that they're comfortable, making sure that you test them in open plays, and making sure that they don't fog even in the worst of conditions will be important. Like it's been raining a lot for me. Um, like, every Milsim game I go to, it's been, like, pouring rain. AMS was that way. DFE this weekend looks like it's gonna rain. I shouldn't say that because that's cursing myself. But, yeah, just making sure that they work well in a variety of situations, they're comfortable, and they don't fog. Now taking a look at some other questions, yes, Eric, just go with, like, don't test your gear at all. That's some great advice. However, I do see a question from Eric, which is, what's the best way for a player to learn what role to play at a Milsim event? And this would be your general rifleman, maybe a sniper, although they're kind of frowned upon at big games, grenadier, medic, whatever it may be. I think that the first thing that you should do is that if you're brand new to Milsim events, like if you've just done open plays, spend a game as a rifleman. A lot of the more like the more intensive games like Milsim West will require you, or again, highly recommend, hey, your first game, you're going rifleman. Because you want to make sure that one, you are capable physically, that your gear is capable so that you can survive throughout the weekend with sustainment gear, and just make sure that like you understand the event format before you start to get into something specialized. Because then you get different rules, things like that. Or even I didn't mention it, but like light machine gunners, DMRs, those kind of rules as well. I would suggest that if you're trying to figure out what roles you enjoy, take a look at what you already have. So if it's something that requires a special gun, like a light machine gunner, a grenadier, which isn't a rifle, but it's another tool that you need to have. One, you're obviously going to need to have that. But two, I would get experience with it and try to talk to other people who have done that before. If you have that capability, like one of the things for me is I'd like to try out light machine gunning. I have noodle arms and I'm not really built for carrying around a PKM. I'd still like to try it one of these days. And one of the advantages that I have is that within my group of friends, there's a lot of people who run light machine guns who I can get that advice from. So I guess I would say like whatever interests you and just making sure that you practice, just like we talked about with goggles a couple minutes ago. Make sure that you're going to the open place and just trying it out, making sure that your gear is comfortable, and then from there, you can start to make some of the decisions. Like the only real specialized role that I've taken on, besides like medic, has been grenadier. I was really interested in tag rounds, and we have a guy in our group who like does tag for everything. But I was like, you know what? He's not going to this game. I want to step up and do it. And I had a really good time. I spent some time, practicing with these things in open plays, even though they're ungodly expensive for tag rounds. But yeah, I would just say practice ahead of time, see what interests you, and if you have the ability to like borrow a piece of kit from a buddy, go ahead and do it. Like one of the things that I didn't think that I'd enjoy is sniping. But when it's 90 degrees out, I kind of like the idea of taking it slow and laying down and maybe falling asleep in the field. My buddy let me use his VSR 10. I had a real good time with it. Eric, thank you so much for the $5 and the amazing question. I cannot wait to see you this weekend for DFE. Taking a look at some more questions. And if you want to make sure that your question does get answered, make sure to send a super chat. It supports the channel and allows me to create more great content for you guys. I've got a ton of stuff on the way. This week has been like video making week. And besides the video that was supposed to go up today, but I've decided to do the live stream instead, I've got one video that's finished and three that are in editing right now. Two of them I just need to do some like audio equalizing, but they're pretty much done. Taking a look at some other questions, we've got a question: what type of food should you take to a Milsim event? And realistically, it's going to depend on what type of game you're going to, because the difference between like an AMS or a Lion Claws or Desert Fox events can be way different than Milsim West. And I think that's kind of the key distinguisher that you need to figure out. Excuse me. If you are going to one of these more casual games like AMS, DFE, Lion Claws, realistically, just bring something that is waterproof and you can carry on you. For me, these are Lenny and Larry complete cookies, peanuts, granola bars. You want some stuff that's going to be a little bit salty, have some carbohydrates in there for energy. You're also going to want stuff with protein. So I bring like beef jerky, things like that. If you're going to a longer game like Milsim West, whatever it may be, I would definitely recommend bringing something that has to be cooked. A lot of players hear this and they think MREs. However, this isn't the end all be all. But I generally like to bring something that has to be cooked, something that's going to be warm, because it's a nice morale booster. Having hot food, especially if it's raining, that just makes you feel so much better. Like at AMS last month, my MTW broke. Surprising, I know. And I went down to the parking lot to go fix it. And I was like, you know what? It's raining. I'm already soaked. It's like 1 in the afternoon. I'm gonna make a mountain house meal. I felt so much better after getting some warm food in me, and that kind of kept me going for the rest of the day. So a lot of people use MREs, like I said. Personally, I'm a big fan of freeze-dried meals like Mountain House. This is going to require you to buy some sort of stove. However, MSR pocket rockets for like a full setup, you can get for like under $50. I paid about 80 for my jet boil from REI. And I will be doing a full video on food and airsoft. But realistically, if you're going to a game where you can go back to your car or it's not a 40-hour game, you can get away with snacks. Just make sure that they're waterproof in case it's raining, making sure that you're getting the nutrients that you need to keep going. I also bring along Pedialyte, makes like little sticks. Like the little like individual, you rip them open and put them in a bottle of water. I like that for some electrolytes. But overall, yeah, just snacks for other games. And if you're going to be going to a Milsim West, bring some sort of hot food. A lot of players like MREs because everything's in there. Personally, I like my food to taste good, so I'll spend a little bit extra money on a Mountain House meal because hot food is definitely a morale booster. Next question we have is from R Rocco. Thank you so much for the $5, dude. Thanks for supporting the channel. It means a lot to me. Newbie Airsoft here. Great content. Learned a lot. Oh, it's not even a question. Sorry. Sorry, it's going to be a day today. But thank you so much. Like one of the things for me is that like because I am in college, because I have been looking for a new job, it's been kind of weird to go to Milsim events, like to like schedule it out, and it's weird like when you go in for a job interview, they're like, "Hey, do you have like any weekends that you can't have. And I interviewed for the job I start today, this week, and I was like, I need Saturday and Sunday off so I can go see the boys. That's not how I actually told them that it's going to be. But yeah, I'm definitely. I think the sad thing is this is probably my last Milsim event of the year. The issue is I've been trying to make it to a Milsim West for the longest time. They're always while I'm in college, which sucks. Like there's one that might be happening at Guardian Center later this year, and if the date is correct, it's like finals week for me, which absolutely sucks. Ben, thank you so much for the $5, dude. Like, I really appreciate all this. So, like lately, YouTube's been like, hey, people are watching your videos more, and it really just means the world to me to see that like the work that I'm putting into the channel, people are enjoying what I do, that they find it helpful. It really does just mean the world to me. And YouTube saying that people are coming back watching more of my videos. I did change up my thumbnail style probably about 2.5 months now because I've done it for 5 or 6 videos. I wonder if that's the reason why. I always kind of hated my old thumbnails, but I couldn't think of anything better. But I'm just going to take a look at some more questions that we have. So we have a question from Ben, which was, I'm looking to go to my first Milsim West. Say I want to do like a reconnaissance role. How do you get into that role? I think the issue is going to be that typically these events kind of discourage you doing like a like two-man sniper recce thing unless you're a really experienced player. And typically, like even at AMS, I know they only allow like one per platoon, and it's typically like the platoon leader. At least that's how it was for us at AMS. So I think it's kind of hard. I think that like, depending on the game you go to in the AO, it could be different. If you're at a nice like open field type area, like Milsim West does a lot of events in Washington. I forgot what the AO is called, but it's just like the Windows 95 background, just like rolling hills. They have the place in California as well. That place suits itself better for more of like a recce reconnaissance type role. But if you're at a more urban facility, I think it's going to be kind of hard. And in a lot of these events, especially as they get more organized, like Milsim West, they really focus on you staying within your group and succeeding by being a squad. And I think they really discourage and to an extent punish people that want to like go off on their own. So I'd say it's really just like maybe not at your first game. I think that'll be kind of hard to do. If you're at an event that's a little bit more casual, like AMS, Lion Claws, DFE, you can get away with it more. I think the DFE it works fantastically with because not only do people carry radios, but at the same time they also have the Blue Box Tracker app, which has a chat in it, so you can drop things. People can see your coordinates because on your phone it'll show your location like a map in Battlefield, for example, which I think is really handy. So you can be like, hey, at like location blah blah blah, there's a platoon of dudes just like vibing. And so I think that it's really a first game. It's going to be hard to be that kind of reconnaissance squad. But anyways, I hope that I answered your question correctly. Again, thank you so much for the donation, man. I really appreciate it. Taking a look at some more questions. Hey DJ, I am super excited for Citadel 3. This again, I've been to all of them at this point. I'm excited to see how they change it up, and I think it's interesting to see how a company uses a field differently than what I'm used to because I go to EMR for my open plays. So like I know that field very, very well, which I think gives me an advantage this weekend. But it'll be interesting to see how they do things different than EMR, where they only use like sections of the field. Which for their open plays, I understand they only get like 30 people, but it'll be interesting to use the full field. And it's always I like seeing how the different smaller fields on the property when they're all brought together, how they work with each other. Because I feel like at some fields that have that, like let's say you have one facility that takes up the entire screen and then you have like 6 smaller fields within that. It's always interesting to see like the borders between them. Typically, those kind of end up becoming the choke points because it's like 50 feet of like open field that becomes like no man's land, basically. Sorry if that was loud. Sorry. It's like 90 degrees in my apartment right now. I really need to get an air conditioner. But just want to say that if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the live chat below. If you want to make sure that they get answered, send the super chat. I appreciate any support for the channel. But I'm just like really excited for this weekend. I the rain, I shouldn't have said that word. That's the thing that has me concerned because a couple of months ago I was like, you know what? I don't really go to any events as like tan team. If I'm going to go to something, it's going to be like Milsim West is NATO, and that's for my infantry kit. So that's not even multicam, really. That's going to be like UCP and a little bit of multicam. But I was like, you know what? I should sell my tan rain gear because I never go to any events as tan, and you'll never guess what team I'm playing on this weekend. All of my rain gear is an M81 right now, so I went out and bought a blue frog tog. Because one of the things I think are interesting about DFE, is that it's not just tan versus green, it's blue versus red as well. So you have the accent colors on your team. So one team is tan, blue, and gray. The other is green, red, and black. So I think that people come out with like these really cool kits, kind of like the cosplay side of airsoft. And I'm glad that I could just get a really cheap rain jacket as opposed to having to go out and buy like some military style, which can be a little bit pricier. I know the Gen 6s go for about $100, what I think I sold mine for. But yeah, I'm real pumped for this weekend. And just taking a look at some other questions. Yeah, then I would suggest, first game, go as a rifleman. See if you can handle the game physically, because Milsim West can be kind of physically demanding if you've never done anything like that before. And then from there, you can sort of specialize, like we talked about earlier in the stream. And we've got a question from Agent K, which is, with all the gear out there, how do you keep your setup simple and efficient? And the answer is, some of mine aren't, some of them are. So primarily, it's finding what you like. It took me a very long time to see what works for me as a player. So right now I use the Spirit of Systems Mark III. I have not upgraded to the Mark IV because they use the same accessories, and my Mark III works just fine. Spirit of stuff is super overinflated in price anyways on the secondary market. So really what it is it's testing and finding out what do you need to bring on the field. For me, that's not that much. What I found out at AMS is that I don't need a hydro bladder. I know I always talk on the channel about needing water as my mouth gets dry, but like realistically, I can get away with water bottles in my cargo pockets or in a mag pouch, whatever it may be. And I went out there on Sunday with just my, just the chest rig, no backpack, anything like that, and I was absolutely fine and it was lighter. So it's important to figure out what do you need on the field and what can you leave back at your fob, whatever it may be. So for these more casual games like DFE or AMS, I have a fob bag, which is where I leave my BBs, my Odin, extra water, and like the little stuff that I'm going to need if my gun breaks. Then I can go back and have some tools that I don't need to carry on me all the time. I know that not everybody uses that rule or uses that mentality. Some people like to carry everything on them, but that's just what I found to be the most effective for me personally. So by doing that, I've been able to streamline my gear to the fact that I've realized that at any Milsim event, I don't need more than 4 magazines, especially with the EPM ones that came out that hold 250 rounds. The way that I play and the platforms that I use, I really don't need that much. The issue for me has been now that I'm using gas blowback, so my GHK AK, I need to carry a lot more mags because they only hold 50 rounds as opposed to 250. So I'm working on that. I have a Mark II chest rig from JTech. It's a big boy compared to the Spiritus, if you're familiar with the specific one. So yeah, it's hard to kinda minimize it, but now that I know what I need, all I have and I'm gonna be doing a video on my load bearing soon. I know I asked a, poll the other day if you guys wanna see loadout videos, and it was overwhelmingly yes, so those will be coming out as well. But realistically, all I carry on me are 3 mags in the front. I have 1 mag on my belt and an HSGI taco. On the chest rig itself, I have the Spirit of Systems chest rig. Again, if it wasn't packed for DFE, I could grab it real quick, but it's a little micro rig. They have expanders called the Thing 2 that puts Molly on each side. On one side, I have my dump pouch on the actual rig because I have no hips, so putting a lot of weight on my belt line just does not work well. And then on the other side, I have a TYR 5x5 GP. This holds a little bit of food, defog, stuff like that. So I've just kind of realized what I need. Oh, and then I have their fanny sack, which sits underneath it that holds my grenades and pyro. So realistically, the only reason why I know like what to carry out is because I've constantly tried it and thought, what can I get rid of? And that's the issue with me running into AKs is that I can't use the same chest rig. The Spiritus does not like AK mags, so I just have to use the Mark II. I need to carry more of them because they have less rounds. So yeah, it's really just practice, and every time you play, think, "What did I not use today?" And that's something that you can get rid of. But yeah, there's a lot of gear out there. It's important to find what you think will work well for you. Like I have a lot of respect for the Haley strategic rigs, but the old ones, like the D3CR, I didn't like the pouch setup on it. I didn't like that it had that weird like elastic thing on there, so I just avoided it entirely. I didn't think I'd get a lot of use out of it. The Spiritus was a little bit more clean. It had more modularity, and that worked out a little bit better for me. So I guess the short answer is just keep trying, go out there, think, what do I need and get rid of it. I used to have a Mayflower chest rig, which was huge, and I just filled it with crap that I didn't need. And, again, it held only 4 magazines. So I'm able to hold the same amount with the Spiritus, hold the stuff that I really need, and be fine overall. So yeah, just keep checking your gear and getting a smaller and smaller setup for what you need. I primarily run rifleman. If I was running like a machine gun, this would be a way different story, different load carrying. But for riflemen, realistically, I think that most airsofters can get away with a micro rig, like a Haley, like a Spiritus, or the million others that are out there on the market. Hmm. Indigo, question about iPro. I do talk about this a lot in a prior video, and I've talked about it in today's stream. I really like the ESS turbofans. ESS crossbows are great. To keep it from fogging, I use Fog Stop, which is a little cream I put on at the beginning of the day. If you want to learn more about this, I did a video a couple weeks ago that I'd highly recommend checking out, where I go into it more in detail. SVO asks, are skirms kind of like a milsim? I'm trying to understand what you mean by skirm. If you mean like an open play, yes and no. Some events, the more casual you get, are just big open plays. If you go to an event like a Milsim West, it's a lot more structured. I feel like a lot of events really try to have a lot of structure, but they fall apart pretty quick, and it turns into a big open play. The thing I like about DFE is because there's the app. It's easy to communicate with people as long as they have their cell phone and they have service. So there's a little bit more organization at those events and taking a look at some more questions. Again, if you want to ask your questions for today, drop them in the chat. If you want to help support the channel and make sure that your question gets seen, send it as a super chat. I always appreciate the support. We have a question: real versus replica load bearing gear. So this is going to involve chest rigs, plate carriers, whatever it may be. I think the real gear is going to be better, obviously, because it's going to be made with better materials, better craftsmanship, and it's going to be made by an American or a European. It's not going to be made in some sort of sweatshop. However, realistically, for airsoft, buy the best that you can afford. If the best that you can afford is a knockoff JPC, it's fine. Like a lot of people get really, really upset about like, oh my god, he bought a knockoff Spiritus or he bought like a knockoff like Haley or LBT, whatever. But like, there's gonna be situations where either one, it's in a unique pattern, or just like something they don't make anymore, so you have to buy a replica at that point. But if you are for if you're just playing airsoft, which we all are, you don't need to go out and spend, hundreds of dollars on a Spiritus plate carrier or a Cry plate carrier when there are plenty of great alternatives. And especially in the last couple of years, like TMC is one of the biggest like replica companies. They have stepped up their game tremendously in the last couple of years. And their kit is fantastic. It'll work with like the real panels if you have zip-on panels or anything like that. So I don't think that it's really like, especially because there have been those improvements. If all you can afford is replica gear, or you don't want to spend the money on like a real Cry or a real Spiritus, real Harley, go for it. Now, obviously, you are supporting those companies who are making those innovations if you buy real gear. However, I completely understand why people buy replica gear, or maybe gear that is made overseas versus American or European made gear. At the end of the day, we are just playing airsoft. This is toy guns. We're using replica guns, for God's sake. Just buy whatever you want. You're gonna get something better with real gear, obviously, but replica gear is fine. I've got some replica stuff in my collection. It really just depends on what you're looking for. Taking a look, Carson asks, "What's the best PDW under 350?" If you're looking for M4 mags, I would say the Crytek Alpha PDW. I think they've gone up in price recently, so it might be under 350. Otherwise, around that 350 to $400 range, the Elite Force MP5s, the Elite series with the Avalon gearbox. That will be next week's video. Is the review of those. Best SMG I've ever used. I've been super happy with it. The other thing that I really like is the MP5K from Elite Force. It's a Cyma made gun, but they're really affordable, so you can put some upgrades in there. I have an upgraded one right now that I'm very excited to show you guys. I just need magazines, but money's been tight. Taking a look at some other options, is the Condor Recon rig a good budget rig? I'm not sure exactly which one that is. If it's the one with the built-in pouches, I don't quite like the design, but again, for airsoft, it'll do. I would just say, whatever's in your budget, having built-in pouches is nice because it saves you money, but you can't customize it. But I think they have one that just has like a bunch of like bungee kangaroo style pouches. It's plenty fine, and I like that design. They also have the clip-in back panels for a Hydra, which is really convenient. Any other questions? Played against you at River City a couple weeks ago. Think you popped me in the face for your AK. I am so sorry about that if I did. It's always great to see people from the local area. I love that GHK. That was the first day that I ever brought it out to River City. I had a ton of fun with that gun. I'm definitely going to switch over to the low power bolt because I feel like I don't need the high power one, and it's like right on the edge of their chrono. But if I shot you in the face, dude, I am so sorry. But I just absolutely loved using that gun. Taking a look at some other questions. So we have a question from Eve like Matt, which I'm sure that's actually you, which is I'm looking into SMGs and looking at the G&G ARP9. Is it any good? I think that the ARP9 is an excellent beginner gun. If you're going to be more advanced, there's some other options out there. The things you're going to want to consider with the ARP9 is that it has a smaller battery space because it has the PDW tanker style stock. AirTech makes a like little battery extension cap. I think they're like 3D printed and just sit on the end. That will definitely help with battery space. If you're not using lipos, I would suggest switching over to them to make sure that you have enough space. But in general, just keep in mind that the ARP9 uses its own proprietary magazine, so you're going to have to buy a bunch of those. They also make a drum mag if you just want to buy ones and cry ones. G&G also offers the AR556, which is like the same package but uses M4 mags. I generally like that one more just because I already own M4 mags and I don't want to buy a bunch of new magazines for it. But yeah, the ARP9 is a great beginner gun. There's a reason why you see them all the time on the field, and I think that it was like really the gun that made pistol caliber carbines popular in airsoft. It's been a trend that's been popular in firearms for a while. But I think that G&G was able to do it in a way that works really well. I don't like a lot of the ones that are just like pretty on the outside, but crappy internals, excuse me. But the G&G does a nice, but in general, G&G does a nice balance of giving you good internals and good externals at a pretty affordable budget. So yeah, I like the ARP9. I wish I had one to do a review on because I do think it is such a good beginner gun. But taking a look at some more questions that we have, I just bought a plate carrier off Amazon. It was $37, and you're pretty impressed with the quality. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely some replica gear that it's pretty good for the price, and then there's some stuff that is garbage for the price. Let me take a drink of water, and then I've got a story. So, if you've ever heard of the company Toy Soldier, they were known for the longest time for making replica gear for like Navy SEAL impressionists, which is what I did way back in the day. They did some Russian stuff, they did some CAG stuff. They made some really high quality gear. But one of the things that they made that was absolute garbage is a copy of a Russian brand makes a chest rig called the SRVV. That's the company name, V2 chest rig. And it's a very simple 4 magazine cells, grenades on each side. It's basically a modern Chicom. Found one on eBay from Toy Soldier, bought it for $2. It gets here a month later. Literally the worst piece of gear that I've ever seen. Like absolute garbage, which was weird because this was such a high quality replica company that is out there. So I was like, oh, that's like really, really weird that it was horrible. But yeah, it's really hard to find stuff that's going to be high quality but also super affordable. I mean, there are more options out there right now, but it's really just like look for the user reviews. Obviously, if you're buying off Amazon, there's gonna be a lot of fake reviews out there. But like YouTube, not to self promote, YouTube's a great way to find reviews on replica gear. Maybe brands you've never heard of before, because there's always going to be dudes like myself or others who are just like they got this. They're like, hey, I want to tell people about it. So I'm always a little weary of buying tactical gear on Amazon. Oh, it's just a brand that I've already heard of before because you never know what you're gonna get with that sort of thing, where it's some sort of brand that you've never heard of before, and maybe it's like a rotating brand name that they use. And a lot of like I don't like to buy safety stuff off Amazon unless it's like again from a brand I know ships directly from the manufacturer, because there are fakes out there. There's stuff that's not gonna be ANSI rated, and that's obviously not good. But I just want to say for anybody that has hopped in lately, hello. Thanks for joining me for a nice Friday chill stream. If you have questions, leave them in the chat. Taking a look at some of the other options that we have. Oh, yes, mentioning One Tigress. I like One Tigress stuff. I think that some of their designs aren't good, but the quality's definitely there. I love their face mask. I've been using them for, God, I think like 5 years ago. Man asked what my thoughts are on Pharaoh concepts. They make great kit. I just don't own any because there's nothing that I've seen that I need. Like the only thing that I would want from Pharaoh, and this isn't to say that I don't like their stuff, I really do, would be the Slickster, which you mentioned. They're really nice plate carriers, but like everything that Pharaoh makes, I already have something that's super similar. Like the Slingster, I already have a VTAC sling. The Dangler, I already have the Spirit System sack. So like I want to try out more Pharaoh concept stuff. I just don't necessarily have a need for it right now, which is why I haven't. But I think that the Slickster is an excellent plate carrier. This is a real piece of kit for anybody who isn't familiar. It's not a replica. It's a great low profile design. Just like for me, in the way that I play airsoft, I like to have plate carriers that have Molly on the back. I don't know if they have a Slickster that does that. I think they're just slick on the back, hence the name. So I like being able to put backpacks and stuff on my rigs. Um, that's just one of the things that has kind of kept me from the slickster, but it's a great design for just like if you want to have some extra body protection for going indoor, clip on a chest rig to it. Excellent, excellent option. Take a look at some other questions that we have. Again, if you want them, submit them down below. I've never seen the Titman Commando. Is that different from their like the old school recoil Titman, or is this just like basically an AEG? If you want to answer that, then I can give a little bit better opinion. I think that Titman uses Lonex for their basic AEGs. Lonex makes good enough guns. They make a lot. They're the OEM for a lot of guns out there in airsoft. I'm just taking a quick look on Instagram where I asked for questions, and it's just a lot of shit posting. So we're going to avoid that entirely. But I mean, in general, if you already have a Crytek, I think that you're gonna be more happy with that than anything that Tippmann makes. In all honesty, Crytek is really just kind of the gold standard in airsoft, and by extent, I would say, VFC is as well. And VFC has a lot more offerings in the U.S. now. They're starting to get a little bit pricier now because it's harder to get airsoft stuff and inflation that's going on. So it's really just going to be a kind of a hard thing to say that there's something better than the Crytek that you already own. And if you're going to get a backup, my recommendation would be to get something that's as good as what you already have now, because nothing sucks worse than your gun dying and then like, oh no, I have to use the crappy gun now. Having something that's just as good, you're like, oh cool, I can use my other great gun, which almost happened to me at AMS the other month now. Oh my god, when my Wolverine MTW died. But yeah, I think Titman just makes the AEGs and then like their old school HPA recoil thing, but that's garbage. It's just a complete garbage rod. Agent K asks, is it better to drive or fly to events? I'm truthfully not the person to ask this question because I've never flown to an event. I've actually never flown in my life. However, from what I've understood from people who have done it, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, especially with the TSA if you're flying with your airsoft guns. Jet Desert Fox did a video on this, God, probably a couple years ago now. I would recommend watching that. But I like driving to events, mainly because I don't get to travel that much otherwise. So part of me really likes to enjoy it. The other thing is that I almost never drive because Eric is so grateful and drives most to everything. So always appreciate that. But yeah, driving is a little bit easier. It might, I would say it really depends on how far you're looking to go. If I was going to something across the country, I would fly. But if it's within 12 hours, I'll drive. That's not horrible. Yes, Eric, all I need to do is tolerate your horrible music choices. But yeah, I like driving, but I would definitely recommend watching Jet's video. It seems like there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and you really need to know what you're doing for flying to events. But if it's far enough away, I will absolutely fly. Um, Got a question from British Beef. I ordered an LCT AK-105. Nice, love the AK-105s. I'm going to slap some Zenetco stuff on it. Are the LCT AKs good stock? Yeah, I would say that LCT makes one of the better AKs out there. Their externals are better than Cyma, and their internals are better than E&L. I think that they're like the nice middle of the road. Again, I still think that Cymas are like one of the best values in airsoft. LCTs are great. There's always going to be those little things that you want to improve in a stock airsoft gun if you have the know-how. Hop up specifically, I think that pretty much every airsoft gun out of the box could do with a new hop up. But yeah, LCTs are great. And the nice thing about LCT is if you're slapping all that Zenetco stuff on there, buy the LCT brand Zenetco stuff, and you should have like little to no fitment or anything like that. Like my GHK uses the externals from LCT. I have some LCT Zenetco stuff that I haven't put on there. So yeah, I really like that LCT makes their own Zenetco stuff that you can just put right on there. You don't really have to do any filing at all because a lot of times when you get the like third party brand Zenetco stuff or even the real Zenetco stuff on a real AK, like you gotta like mail it that stuff in, file it down, and like the excuse is, oh, well, that makes it super sturdy, but it's just really a big pain. But yeah, LCDs are great. I hope that you enjoy the gun. That's the only AK that I haven't owned for an extended period of time is a LCT. I had the E&L for a couple of years. Oh no, I had an LCT 74U. God, I even forgot about that gun. They're great. You're going to enjoy it. They shoot a little hot out of the box. So if you're trying to take it indoors, that might be an issue. But yeah, new hop up, maybe the spring if the field thinks it shoots too hot, and you should absolutely be fine. So again, if you want to submit some of your questions down there, leave them right in the chat. If you want to help support the channel, make sure to leave a super chat. I always appreciate the feedback and the support from you guys to help keep the channel going. We've got another question from Eve like Matt. Hey, so I play outdoors. What would be a good gun currently? I have a Lancer Tactical. If you're looking to upgrade to something that's going to be a little bit more expensive, Crytek's, VFCs. Really, there's so many great options for airsoft guns right now. People are just beyond spoiled in the choices that they have. Like, I remember back in the day when I first started playing airsoft, you did not have that many choices. And I think that people are just spoiled now with the quality they get for the price point they do. Like, I would say that like the $300 or like excuse me, the 150 to $200 guns that we have now were the $300 guns back when I started playing. So yeah, Crytek, VFC, both gonna be great for outdoors. It really just depends on what budget you're looking to spend. But if you are Evike Matt and you work at Evike, you've got some choices there. Taking a look at some of the other questions that we have right now. Um, if you have a Lancer, why would you want to go backwards by getting somewhere else? I'm actually kind of interested. Lancer Tactical announced yesterday they have a Gen 3 system coming out. I'm curious, not like running out, selling out all my other airsoft guns to try it, but like, hey, if they want to hit me up to do a review again, like I'll give it a try. I think that like Lancer is one of those companies that people crap on for like there's some good reason there. They're not the best airsoft gun, but like there's way worse that I've seen people recommend. I think that Lancers are just like okay. They're not a Crytek, they're not a VFC, but in their price point, they're competitive against the other guns. And I think there's a lot of people that like they have like a super Gucci gun, like a Sistema owner telling somebody who can only afford a Lancer like you're trash. I can't stand it in airsoft. This is actually one of the videos that I filmed the other day that I'm going to talk about soon. I think the Lancers are just okay. I think that they get a lot of hate, but at the same time, I mean, there's worse out there. I will definitely say. Taking a look at some other questions that we have. Do I know if EMG's 2011 is TM compatible? I don't think everything is. I would definitely reach out to their tech department. The thing's going to be that sometimes TM compatible parts aren't a 100% drop in between different brands. Sometimes they require a it's sort of like a little bit of fitment is needed, whatever it may be. Some stuff might drop in easier than others. I'm sure like putting a slide on the frame might work. Little parts might require a little bit of filing, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know who makes the EMG. So actually, according to Eric, they might be Armor Works. So yeah, again, hit or miss, depending on what's available. And I'm just going to take a look at some more questions. When you were first getting into airsoft, at what point did you register for your first Milsim event? And what would you recommend for people interested in going to their first big game? So I'm trying to think when my first Milsim event was. I guess we have to define what a Milsim event is. Because if it's just like a bigger game at your open field, like I don't know the answer to that. I've been to so many of them. For the first like really big game, I would say that was AMS in 2016, November 2016, because I remember it was right before the election. I guess it would be like if you're interested in your first game, I would just really just go out and play open plays. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream, so many people bring way too much to airsoft games that they just don't need. And I would say that's just in general. And the same thing with Milsim is that people overpack because I think it's going to be this like huge, intense firefight. It's going to be like a moderate or like a it's gonna be like a Call of Duty campaign. It's not. It's a big open play. What I would recommend is get comfortable using your radio ahead of time. Test everything. Make sure that you're all good. Like legitimately, most casual Milsim games are a big open play, and I don't say that as like a. I don't say that making fun of them. You just have to keep your expectations in line with what's actually going to happen. I'm not saying that you're not going to have a good time, but just it's a big open play. Make sure that you have the physical like endurance to be able to stay out on the field for 8-10 hours at a time. It's okay to sit down and drink some water and have some food, whatever it may be. But like you should be prepared to go to go to a game, not walk back to your car until the day is over. If you can't do that, maybe you're not ready. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it and still do that, but like I don't see why people go to these big games and spend 2 hours eating lunch at their car, or they drive to McDonald's and they're probably still in their tactical gear, which is super cringy. But like, yeah, if you're going to be going to a big game for the first time, just test your endurance. And I understand if you can't do that at airsoft, there's other things you can do that use the same same muscles, same strength, whatever it may be. Go on a big hike. Like that's how I kind of train for airsoft in the rucking of Milsim West. So I put 35 pounds in my backpack and I go for a walk. By using that same muscle group and the endurance and everything like that. And I probably sound like an idiot, but by using those same skills and working the same muscles and your core and just overall endurance, that's how you're going to prepare for these bigger games. Is just make sure that you can stay out there for long enough, make sure that your kit is comfortable, make sure that you have extra socks, especially if it rains. But yeah, I guess that's what I would say for people who are looking to go to their first big game is just test out your kit ahead of time, because nothing's worse than going to a big game, having something fail that you never would have expected, or having something be super uncomfortable and you have to wear it for the next 10 hours. I'm just taking a look at chat right now. Nick, I've been having lots of small annoying issues with the bow things. I'm thinking about switching over to the Motorola talkabouts. I think that a lot of people will do just fine with talkabouts or any radio they can use. Family radio channels, which are the standard 1 through 22. I like the Baofeng because there's a little bit more that I can do with it. I have people in my group that have ham radio licenses. We can take advantage of some of the other stuff. The Baofengs, especially because there's like a lot of variety of them that I've seen, there's knockoffs as well. They can have some issues, but if you're having issues with the Baofengs, you could get away with the Motorola's. It's going to depend on what you need it to do. Like for me, I'm typically at most a squad leader. I don't need dual comms or anything like that. I can get away with a Baofeng. I could probably get away with a talkabout as well if I wanted to. I guess it would really fall down to how often you use it, and when you do bring it to the field, how much do you use it while you're out there? Um, Luke asked, "Should you bring your radio to Milsim West if you're not in a leadership role?" Excuse me. Pretty sure that they specifically say if you're not a squad leader, don't bring a radio, because one of the worst things about bigger games that are more casual is people don't know how to use their radios. And it's either hot miking or like just 100 people trying to talk over each other. It feels like a Modern Warfare 2 lobby. So yeah, I would say that if you're not in leadership, maybe don't bring it, or be like, "Hey, is this useful?" If they say no, put it away. Like I said, I think at Milsim West they specifically say if you're not a squad leader, don't bring one. Taking a look at some more of the options. How many tag and shells would you suggest to carry at an event? As many as you can launch. My buddy carries 12 on him at a time. Really comes down to how target rich is your environment and what can you afford. The more the merrier, honestly. I used to carry two at a time, but the games that I was using tagging rounds at, no technicals. Really, it was just engaging, other infantry. So I feel like I didn't need a lot, and I didn't have a lot of opportunities to use it. But if you're at an event where like it's more urban than the one that I was at, like I was at EMR, which is where I'm going to be this weekend, so there really wasn't a lot of great opportunities, or there's vehicles, carry more. So again, whatever you can really afford. How many batteries should you be prepared to have for a Milsim game? I bring three. Um, if I was going to a longer game like the Milsim West, I might bump that up, but I would say three is a pretty good number. I also don't go through as many BBs at Milsim games as I do at open plays, I found. So like if I'm only going through 2,000 rounds in a weekend, honestly, I'd probably be fine with one battery, but I don't want to risk it. So we always bring more. I really like the PTS enhanced polymer stock because they can hold like, I think the most I've ever put in that stock is 5 batteries. So the more the better, but realistically, I bring three. Taking a look at some other questions while I drink some water. It's almost like it's hard to talk for 45 minutes straight. And I did see a question super early in the video that I did want to bring up because I've been on an AK kick lately, which was from OK Camper. I hope you're still here. What's your personal opinion on the best stock for ARs, under, side, Romanian, W, or full? So my GHK is just a side folding 74M full stock. My favorite, like aesthetically, is the underfolders. But like when I bought my GHK, I had the opportunity to get an underfolder, but I thought to myself that's going to get loose over time. I just think that they're so cool. But yeah, I like side folders. I don't like a non-folding stock on an AK, although I never use it. I just think that's cool. And that's all that matters in airsoft is looking cool, not actual practicality, right? But anyways, I'm looking for some more questions for you guys. We might go for a little bit more, maybe another half an hour or so. I'm gonna see if there's anything on Instagram that we got in. And if you're not already in there, I would highly recommend, if you want to continue the conversation after this live stream, join our Discord server. There's a link in the description below so you can talk with other airsofters, chat, things like that. But anyways, I appreciate all of you coming in. I saw a bunch of people that entered the stream. So if you have any questions for us today, leave them in the chat. If you want to make sure that your question gets seen and help support the channel, make sure to leave a super like. I always really appreciate donations from viewers. It allows me to create more content like this. So taking a question that we have in there that I see on Instagram, um, Dan, thank you so much for the $5. I've never seen a shrimp frying rice. However, I'm always surprised when it does happen. Just like a reader digesting this. But I do see a question on Instagram which is asking what the future of videos is going to be like on the channel. And right now, I mentioned this maybe half an hour ago. This week, I was able to get a ton of videos done. So there will be a gun review next week. That was supposed to be today, but I was like, I want to do a live stream. So there will be a high-end gun review. I have 3 videos that are being edited right now. 2 of them just need equalizing. One of them has to be like fully edited. But the issue that I run into right now is like I've got these 3 videos and I'm editing and I've got one that's done. Part of me is like post them all, like one a week, like video every week. That'd be great. I'd love to do it. But the other part of me is like, what if there's a lull again? Because if you've been following the channel for a while now, if you've been following the channel for a while now, you know that there was kind of a gap during COVID. I feel like everybody was adjusting to it. I didn't post anything for like 2 months during COVID. And then I posted one video when I moved into the apartment that I'm in now. And then I was radio silent until like October again. And then I've been pretty good since October doing a video every other week. I don't want that to happen. So as much as I'm like creating new videos and I'm like, man, I should post them back to back to back. I don't wanna have those lulls because I feel like people kind of forget about content creators if they don't post, I wanna say once a week, but I post every other week here on the channel, and I feel like people kinda start to forget about you, and, like, I'm at least lucky that on YouTube, there's rewatchability in your content, but, like, if a Twitch streamer doesn't stream for 2 weeks, people are just gonna forget that they exist, so, like I said, I'm trying to keep up the content on the regular, but if it's like this throughout the summer where I have this free time, we'll definitely do more live streams. Maybe I will be able to do 3 videos a month instead of the regular 2. But I'm not happy with 2 videos a month. But at the same time, I would like to do more. I'm just afraid that I'm gonna like not burn myself out, but do a ton now and then have nothing like when college starts up or when it gets busy around the holidays, whatever it may be. But I definitely want to do more content. If you guys want to see more content, make sure to let me know as well. I'm sure that nobody's going to say no to more videos. But there's also a lot of stuff that I've been trying to do that I just haven't had the opportunity. There's stuff that I can't do in this room, just between scheduling and like the way that things work with other people. I haven't been able to do it. I'm working on something right now to try to be able to do some more outdoor stuff, like the GHK AK. I'd like to do more shooting, and I'd like to do some, better B-roll and things like that. But we'll just have to see how it goes, unfortunately, which is something I've been saying for quite a while, which I hate to say. Take a look at some other questions. Can you run an SVD as a marksman instead of a DMR? It's going to be event dependent. Really depends on their rules, but typically something like an SVD would be a DMR because it's in a higher caliber. Or can you run an M27 or an RPK as a marksman? Dependent on the event, I guess it would say like how you kit it out. Like if you've got like a short dot on there, I'm sure you could just be like, yeah, this is an M4. And most event promoters will be like, okay, don't do full auto. But again, it's gonna depend on what event you're at. We've got a question from Apollo, which is asking, what do I think of my GHK so far? So I've been pretty happy with it. The issue that I have is that I have the high FPS, which is just the stock bolt. Yeah, that's it's hot. It's, like, always on the border, especially on a hot day. I'm, like, right at, like, 1.5 joules, which has been an issue for me because it means that I'm definitely gonna have to switch out to the low power bolt, which I think I'm gonna do pretty soon. I like the GHK so far. I hate that whenever you take the magazine out, it'll cause a double feed when you try to load it back in, so when you take the mag out, you've gotta make sure to tap the BB out of the chamber or else you're gonna double feed, but it's a good gun so far. A lot of the issues that I see with the GHK AK, or that I hear about, I should say, are kind of like eventually type stuff. Like the hop up housing is plastic and it's going to break. You're probably going to break a nozzle. That's any gas blowback in reality. But yeah, I like it so far. I think that it kicks good. I mean, it's an airsoft gun, so it feels like a 22. I do want to get the full travel kit. However, that also increases the wear that you're going to see on parts. So again, like another one that breaks eventually is your fire control group, your auto sear, stuff like that. So I would definitely say that if you're going to get a GHK, remember that you're going to need to get those parts eventually. The main thing I hate about my GHK is loading it. Like the first round in a GHK mag because of the little stopper, so that it doesn't keep firing when you're out of ammo. I'm sure that sounded really wonderful. for you guys. That's the biggest pain with the GHK, but I like it so far. It's consistent, which I was not expecting with a gas blowback, but with the stock bolt, I'm shooting laser beams out to about 175 feet with heavy BBs. I would definitely recommend using nothing lighter than a 3.2, but the GHKs are really cool. Their M4s are neat as well. So yeah, I see why there's so much hype behind the GHK brand. I just want to say to Alex, I will bring that GHK now just because you told me not to. Cannot wait to see you guys as well, and also congratulations. Taking a look, what is the most underrated but overpowered attachment for airsoft, like battle axe magazines or a flashlight? The most overpowered but underrated. I'm gonna say a red dot, and the reason why I say that is I've met so many people in airsoft who either buy crappy red dots that they don't zero, or they just like track their BBs by looking down the side of their barrel like a paintball gun. A good red dot is a lifesaver because if you take the time to sit down and zero it, you can just look up on your rifle, have the dot right where it's going to go, and you don't need to accommodate for it being left, right, off, whatever it may be. By being able to take those quick shots that you know are going to be accurate, you're going to be firing less, which might not give your position away, and they're fantastic. The other one that I see is going to be a sling, which a lot of people don't buy a sling or they don't buy a good sling. If you're going to longer games, invest the $50 in a good sling. VTAC, Faro Concepts, Haley Strategic, whoever it may be, by getting a good sling, you're going to be so comfortable. Like nothing sucks more than having it rub on your neck or having it be like a thin piece of nylon. It's just super uncomfortable, and by having a good sling, one, you're gonna retain your $400 or $500 toy and have it not fall on the ground, but you just need to it's gonna make things a whole lot more comfortable, it's gonna be easier to use. Again, I really like the Glorious VTAC sling because it has a pull adjuster on it, which gives you extra distance if you need it to be closer to your, body, you can do that. I like that because as somebody who primarily uses two-point slings, 2 points can be kind of uncomfortable to shoot offhanded. But by having that extra space, it's definitely doable. It's harder with like my GHK because I use the same swing on my M4s and my AK. The GHK with the full stock can be kind of hard to switch over to my left side, but on M4s, I've been using it for so long now that it's just second nature and works fantastically. And I definitely see a lot of comments down there below saying slings, red dots, flashlights are also super handy. I would say it really depends on one, you gotta buy a good flashlight. There's a lot of garbage tactical flashlights out there. But at the same time, knowing how to use it, like I see a lot of people just like run halfway across the field and have their flashlight on the entire time. They work both ways. And if you are looking at a flashlight that's shining, you're going to see that from much farther away than the person who's using the flashlight is going to see you. So they're a beacon. You have to use them kind of sparingly, I would say. But having a good flashlight is great. I guess it's going to fall down to do you play indoors or outdoors more? If you're playing like outdoor games that are in the day, a flashlight has no use in my opinion, unless you're going into dark areas that have roofs. But most airsoft fields here in the U.S. don't have that, and night games are kind of sparing as well. But yeah, I would say in order: nice red dot, a sling, and then a flashlight if applicable. Everything else is really just for comfort, minor benefits like more battery space in certain stocks, whatever it may be. But yeah, really red dots, slings, and flashlights if you need them. Sorry if that was uncomfortable. Taking a look at some other questions that we have. For Zia Coyote, I was actually talking about LCTs earlier. I think that they're pretty good, especially if you live in the US. I feel like they have a pretty good rep over here, which is something that I would love to explore in a video. Is kind of the difference between the American versions of guns and the versions that go over to the EU or the UK. Because like when I did a video, God, back in February, it was like my favorite guns that are out there. I said the VFC Avalon, and it was weird because like people who lived in America agreed with me. The people over in Europe were like, they're garbage. Like Avalon suck. They're like horrible. So I'd be interested to see how guns differ in different parts of the world because like if you live in the U.S., there's really not any restrictions on airsoft. But when you're in countries or regions that have more like actual laws besides just the orange tip in terms of like velocity and things like that, I think it'd be really interesting. To know like how they differ on the inside. I do see that yeah, sometimes the motors can be kind of iffy on LCTs, but that, especially with a V3 gearbox, that's a pretty easy one to change. Sam, I have a prescription. Taking a look at some other questions that we have in here. Yeah, I see from British Beef that VFCs have a bad reputation in the UK. Like for a while, VFCs did here too. They were only known for their externals, but yeah, I just want to see like how they differ. Like I would love to get my hands on like a American Crytek, a Japanese Crytek, and a European Crytek. Break them open, see the difference between them, see the difference in performance to kind of get an idea like what the difference is on them. Because obviously, like again, with velocity limits, there might be something else that they change to make like again when there are guns that have bad reps in other parts of the world. I think it'd be interesting to see like why do they have that? What did they change compared to an area where they're really well received? Noah has a question. What's the ideal BB weight for HPA guns? The highest you can hop. I would definitely say that start at 3.2 and work your way up. If you're going to be using an HR or a HPA gun, take advantage of a better hop up, like an R hop, an MR hop, because like even with AEGs, like some of the guys in this chat right now, I see hopping fours out of a VFC Avalon like it's nothing. My MTW, when it finally decides to work, can easily hop fours, four fives. Yeah, I would experiment with heavier weight BBs. Right now, there are some good options for 3.2s. I use Elite Force. Anything heavier than that, high power airsoft. I would definitely recommend. But yeah, I think this is one of the big things that players need to adopt in general is heavier weight BBs because I always hear people say like, oh, like my point twos get there faster or whatever it may be. The issue with that is that one, the difference you're talking about in speed is, like a tenth of a second. And point twos get carried off by the wind and they don't maintain that energy. So as they fly through the air, they don't hold on to that kinetic energy in the same way that a heavier weight BB does, simply because it has more mass. So I would definitely say for anybody, try heavier weight BBs. I don't think that there's a single airsoft gun on the market right now, like a good one, that wouldn't take advantage from a 2.5 or higher, and I'd almost say a 2.8 by extension. But there are some guns at really low velocities, and you might want to use the 2.5s. But I would definitely say if you've been using lighter weight BBs, make the adjustment. Just taking a look at some other comments that we have while I take a drink of water because I've been talking for an hour straight. Okay, Anvil Air. So that makes a lot of sense that pre-engagement because of the lower springs, that makes sense. Like if they change one thing but nothing else, I could see that leading to a lot of issues. So for the stock LCT, because you mentioned it, I would try a 2.8. And then if you feel like you can do more, try a 3.2. I mean, like the thing about it is that you're gonna get usage out of it no matter what. But yeah, try a 2.8 at the minimum for that LCT AK. And how are the extra BB stored for reloads on the field? I use a Odin Innovation Speedloader and a bottle. So like the Odin holds 1600, the bottle holds 2700. When the Odin's out, fill it with the bottle, repeat. That's how I do it. The Odin Innovation Speedloader is absolutely fantastic. If you want to, if you use M4 mags, I should say there are adapters out there. Some of them are better than others. Airsoft Junkies makes great 3D printed adapters for the Odin. Do I think that the adjustable power tag and shell is a must, or do you think the standard CO2 shell is good? I've never used it before, and it's been a while since I've used Tag-In. I think the adjustable could be a good idea depending on the weather conditions you're in. Like if you want to give it a little bit more power because you're in a colder environment, but in general, like CO2 does pretty good. But I've like with the green gas powered ones, I've had issues where they've gone like 20 feet and hit the ground immediately. Um, what are my thoughts on night vision aiming methods, both active and passive? So I don't use a lot of night vision, so I'm gonna preface this by saying that I'm probably not the best person to answer it. But this weekend I got to play around with dual tubes, and I really like shooting passively. I felt pretty comfortable hitting a target that was 100 feet away. With an IR laser, I felt pretty comfortable hitting it as well. I did not get a chance to actually look through the site. The site was not a night vision capable one, but I could see that being like kind of hard, admittedly. And I think that like by having that advantage of doing the passive shooting, I feel like that might be quicker, especially because like with an airsoft gun, we're not shooting that far away in reality. But yeah, I definitely want to do more testing on it. I just need to stop being poor and buy a night vision unit one of these days. Um, What are FPS limits like in the US? Most UK sites are 350 max for full auto. Typically, we require people to be at like 1.52 joules for outdoor, and I don't remember what that equivalates to indoor. Indoor is 350 with a 2. I don't remember what that is in jarts or in joules right now. I cannot talk. But our FPS is higher than the UK. And I feel like that actually leads to a lot of issues because then we get into more minimum engagement distance issues, like, when you can allow people to shoot 400 indoors and it's like a 15-foot minimum, that doesn't work for an area that's, like, not big enough to be playing airsoft in the first place. I always hate going to an indoor field with a large, bang bang rule, and then people just run in the room and go bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. It always just drives me crazy. I wish that airsoft had lower velocity limits here in the US, or by saying, like, um if you shoot a Joule, you have no MED. I think that'd be better. Eric just said 1.14 joules for indoor. Just taking a quick look at some of the other questions that we have here. Again, if you want to make sure that your question gets answered, submit it in the chat. If you want to help support the channel, super chats are always greatly appreciated. We have another question. Started charging my Titan 11.1 with a smart charger. Did LiPo charging. Ooh, if you're having issues like that where your screen's going black and it's burning, contact Titan. They will be able to give you a nice scientific answer on why that went wrong. Lipos are definitely one of those things that I feel like people need a little bit more knowledge on in the airsoft industry. But if you have a burnt smell, put your battery in a lipo bag, get a hold of Titan. It's a Friday. They definitely have their customer service open. See what's going on. They might advise you not to use anything, but Titan has great customer service. They might even send you a new battery. I would reach out to them. I don't want to give you an answer on why that happened. All I know is that it's not good. Um, it could be the charger, it could be the battery, but again, Titan is way more experienced in being able to give you an answer. I see in the Philippines, the top is 450 for AEGs. Typically, some events will allow 450 for an AEG if you're like a medium machine gunner. Sniper rifles, a lot of fields have like a 500 FPS, but I don't remember what that is in joules with like a point 0.4. I think that is one of the issues that we have here in the US is that not a lot of fields do chrono correctly. They'll have the 400 with a 2, 500 with a 2, but they won't have it with joules because joule creep is an issue. If you take a gun with a point 0.2, like a sniper, and it chronos 500 with a 2, and then you put a 4 in there, you're going to see a jump in the actual joules from going from the 2 to the 4 because of the mass of the projectile. And a lot of fields don't take that into consideration, which I think is a huge issue that needs to be changed in the US. It's just like the same thing with like convincing people to use heavier BBs. It's a hard battle to do to be able to convince people to do things differently than they are now. And some fields are so stuck in their ways that they're like, "No, this is dumb. I don't need to do that." Taking a look at some more of the questions that we have. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. We've been doing this for over an hour now. I always love doing live streams with you guys. And just taking a look at some more of the stuff that we have. I keep seeing people say that like VFC has a bad rep here or there. I think it'd really just be interesting to see how the guns are different from area to area. Um, I think that the 7.4 would work fine in the LCT. I think that's not going to put too much stress on the parts. Yeah, take a look at some other questions that we have on Instagram. Oh boy, a lot of shit posting on Instagram. Oh wait, how has monetization affected your channel? Oh, I love this question because it's really interesting, and there's a lot of misconceptions by people who actually don't make YouTube channels. So demonetization still happens, and what I've kind of concluded that causes it is a gun in the thumbnail or like me holding it up. If it's just like passively in there, I feel like YouTube doesn't detect it, and then you get through fine. But the YouTube monetization is weird because I've had videos like when you upload it, they give you a verdict right there, and they're like, "Hey, this is not suitable," and then like 4 hours later, it is, and I'm like, what? What? So, anyways, for whoever asked about the monetization, it's better right now. If you've been watching my last couple of videos, you can probably tell that I've made them advertiser friendly on purpose. Next week's video, the MP5 review, absolutely not. Got demonetized right away. But I think that I think that YouTube's doing better than they were a couple of years ago at detecting it. The issue primarily is that sometimes you don't know, and if you're a smaller creator like myself, you don't have anybody at YouTube to talk to. Um, so you can't get any straight answers. I think that's always been a big issue with YouTube, but demonetization has been kinda better for me lately. Interest in the channel has increased significantly in the last couple of months. I don't know if it's the videos that I've been doing, the new thumbnail style, whatever it may be, but I'm happy to see it no matter what. But yeah, interest has been going, up. Anvil said that he loses adverts if he has an airsoft gun for any length of time. Again, I think that it's like YouTube's AI, like, detecting the outline of the gun and be like, "Nope, banned." But, when you upload a YouTube video, for those of you who don't do this, when it's like, "Hey, is your" they ask you, "Do you think your video is advertiser friendly?" And you go down to firearms related content, and the 3 categories are like, "I am safely handling a firearm in a controlled environment such as a shooting range. I am playing with toy guns, shooting at people without protection," or the third one is, "I am teaching people how to modify firearms." And I'm like, "Well, I'm in my bedroom. I guess that's a controlled area." And they're like, "No, it's not." So, I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be one of the YouTubers that relies on gameplay, because, gameplay takes forever to make, 100 hours, and then, demonetized because you shot at people. And they don't say what protection gear is, they don't specifically say, "Oh, goggles and face mask are enough protective gear." So I couldn't even imagine what it'd be like for people who, do gameplay videos. But yeah, you've probably noticed that my content's been a little different lately, but yeah, it's been an issue. We got a question from Eve like Matt. Have I lost or gained interest in airsoft over the years? And it's kind of a fluid thing. During COVID, I lost a lot of interest in airsoft. I feel like maybe just kind of because I thought that the world was ending, but it's not like a straight upward or a straight downward. It changes with time, and I think that one of the things that has kept me involved in airsoft for so long is YouTube and being able to talk to people and all the amazing people that I've met. I had a conversation last weekend with some friends that the reason that I go to airsoft games a lot of times isn't for the game itself, it's to see the people that are going. And I feel like, again, the people that I've met through this hobby are the reason why I've stayed in it so long. But I would say that right now my interest is pretty high. I think one of the sad thing is that I've been selling a lot of airsoft guns. Before I start anything new, I've been telling myself I need to get rid of something first. My rule is to never have more than 5 airsoft rifles again, and I'm at 5 right now. I just realized. So it's weird because last year again, it dived down significantly. A lot of stuff went on in my life. I moved out of my parents' house for the first time, and I remember I moved here on August 1st. The first time I touched an airsoft gun in my house was October. There was such a long time that I wasn't playing airsoft, that I wasn't making videos, just because so much was changing in life that I feel like other stuff was more important at the time, and that's okay. That's going to happen in everybody's life where there's things that are going to be more important. It's going to be your family, your friends, your relationships, whatever it may be. So I don't think that my interest in airsoft has ever been again either a straight up or a straight down. It's kind of been fluid, and I'm happy that right now it's on the higher end. I enjoy it more. I'm happy that I have the time to sit down and make content. The fact that on a Friday afternoon I have the time to do a live stream with you guys, I'm definitely at a high point in it right now, but I always see it kind of wane off in the winter because there's not a lot of good indoor fields in my area, and the ones that I do enjoy are very far away. So it's right now it's on the high end. I will leave it at that. But thanks for the question. I always enjoy talking about that sort of thing because it's something that not a lot of content creators focus on. Taking a look at some other options or other questions, excuse me. The monetization rules are kind of a little ridiculous, Ben. But you got to think, at the same time, our little corner of the internet of firearms and toy guns is so small compared to everything else that, when people are like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," YouTube's probably not listening because we're so small. And why wouldn't they focus on the people that get way more watch time than us? I know we might be big to within our industry, people might be big, but in the grand scheme of things, their channels are small. I mean, who's the most popular airsoft YouTuber? Is it Average still? But anyways, they're probably under 5 million subscribers. That's very small on YouTube, and compared to that, I'm incredibly smaller at only 17,000 subscribers we're about to hit. So I get why the rules aren't designed for us because really we're such a small minority on YouTube. Um, Coyote's gonna ask again, do I prefer baseball caps or helmets? Baseball hats. I will wear a helmet if I go indoors, but right now I don't own one because I've been playing a lot of outdoor, like I just said. My local indoor fields are garbage. Um, so I always wear baseball hats because they're cooler, and especially in the summer when it's 90 degrees out, I don't want like all that heat getting trapped in there, and especially with like a ballistic style helmet, there's zero ventilation. So I don't really like them. I think they look super cool. Don't get me wrong, but like for practicality, baseball hat all day. I also like I have a Condor baseball hat that doesn't have the little like strip in the back with the hole, so I can wear it backwards and not have to get worried about getting shot right here. And then I have something covering my neck as well. Also, thanks for subscribing. Always appreciate it. Taking a look at some of the other questions that we have. You thought the world was ending, so you bought more beans, bullets, and band-aids and batteries rather than BBs. Yeah, no, I just focused on other stuff. I think like COVID was like a big reset for me to focus on what I thought was really important. I was finishing up my degree at that time, like my associates. I'm working on my bachelor's right now. So like it's just a lot of change at once. And like you'd think that I'd find comfort in these things that I regularly do. But like back when our state was doing really bad with COVID, I played airsoft once and nobody cared about mask distancing. And I was like, all right, I can wait a little bit to play airsoft. I didn't even have a good day too, which sucked because it was like the only time I played that summer. But again, if you have any questions, make sure to leave them down below. We might end kind of soonish, depending on how I'm feeling. Like I said, I have my first day of work in a couple of hours. Is Mesh iPro safe? Absolutely not. And I think that Anvil, you answered that amazingly. iPro without hole or I God, I can't talk. iPro with holes is an iPro. Absolutely. I understand fogging sucks. And I know this is probably going to be a bad answer. Buy better goggles. Like spend a little bit more money because it's going to pay dividends in terms of comfort, in terms of not fogging. If you get something with a fan system built in, it's super comfortable when it's like 95 degrees out, and you just get that like little bit of cold air going across your face. Chef's kiss, feels amazing. So yeah, just buy better goggles. That's really just the best advice out there. Matt's asking, what am I most excited about for my next airsoft game, which is tomorrow. I think I'm most excited about really just seeing people that I haven't seen in forever. I haven't seen Jet and Leah in God 2 years now. I'm just excited to be able to catch up with people, and I think that's again, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, why I like these bigger games. Like sometimes they suck. AMS was a good game. It was raining the entire time. It was not very comfortable. But like I got to see a lot of friends that I haven't seen in a very long time, and that's what's more important about the hobby right now for me. Is like yeah, the gear and the toy guns are cool, but like for me, it's just seeing these people that I've known for so long and I haven't been able to see because of COVID. That's what I look forward to the most in airsoft because I feel like I can get a enjoyable day of airsoft at an open play. I feel like it's not with the options around me, it's not hard to go pay $20 and have a good time. But like realistically, I go to these bigger events just to see people at this point, and that's what I'm the most excited about. And any night game tips? I hate to say it, man, just because I don't own night vision, I don't play a lot of night games. Use your flashlight sparingly and make sure you have some light up red thing so that people know that you're actually dead. What music am I looking forward to on your drive to the event? Well, because I'm not driving with Eric, I don't have to listen to death metal, so that's always great. I just kind of throw in like a variety playlist. Like it's so weird because I'm definitely one of those people that says like, "Oh, I'll listen to anything," and then of course I hate like either end of the spectrum. So I've just kind of been jumping around lately. There's nothing that's really been like on like in my playlist all the time. I'd say the only thing is going to be like probably Blink 182 I've been listening to a lot ever since I found out that Mark Hoppus has cancer. So I've been really getting back into their music because they're my favorite band. But yeah, no, I don't really know what I'm going to listen to this weekend on the way down. Another, someone bringing up Xfog. I think the Xfog is great. For the longest time, I thought that it only works well on helmets. And then somebody was like, yeah, you can just put that on your goggle strap. I thought that it was heavier than that, admittedly. So maybe one day I will try it. I am super happy with my turbo fans, but the fan on them has died. So I kind of miss having that feeling. So Xfog might be in my future, but we'll see. I would definitely like to try it, especially for how many people. I've never seen anybody buy an Xbox and be disappointed with it, so I'd like to see how they perform for myself. Did you know that Mexico only has airsoft fields and no stores? That's interesting. That seems like kind of a like an obvious that you would have a store as well. But I mean, like here in New York, we don't have a lot of stores that are just stores. They're attached to a field, or they're owned by the same company, or they're like within like 10 minutes of each other. So I kind of see that, but yeah, most of what I see is primarily going to be, the places that are connected. I think the only like what's coming to mind, the places that are airsoft stores that are also not a field is like a hobby shop that also does like trains and airplanes and all that fun stuff. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna wrap up the stream kind of soon here. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the chat. If you want to make sure that your question gets seen and help support the channel, super chats are always appreciated to help continue to allow me to make content for you guys. Like I said, I've got some stuff that's in the works, stuff that I just have to finish editing, but I am super excited for this summer. If I can get a place that I can do some of these outdoor video ideas that I've had for like 2 years, then there's a lot of stuff I've never done on the channel that nobody's done that I'm keeping like super close to my chest so somebody doesn't take the idea from me. But I definitely wanna do some new stuff on the channel soon, and I'm excited to bring it to you guys. I just need to get the opportunity. What's my next Midwest Milsim event on my radar? I don't have any, admittedly. I think I'm done with Milsim events for the year, unfortunately. I think the only thing that's really on my radar that I want to go to is the Extreme Airsoft event that they're doing. It's like their big like expo type deal that's in September. But there's nothing really in the Midwest that's on my radar just yet. I was thinking about going to Desert Fox because my girlfriend's parents live out in that way. The one that they did, like I think it was like last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. That did not happen. I do want to try Action Sports Wisconsin. I've seen a lot of stuff from their field. I've talked to the owner before, and it looks like a really professional area that I'd like to try out, but nothing in the Midwest yet. It's just so hard for me because like I can't do anything from September to May because of college, which is when a lot of the really fun events are like Mills and West, but we'll see what happens. But just gonna take a couple of more questions, see if there's anything on Instagram for us. And just taking a look. So what's my favorite event that I've ever been to? I'm gonna say my first event that I've ever gone to, which was AMS Faded Giant 5. I think that's the last Faded Giant that they did. And I think my favorite thing about Faded Giant, and I might just be biased because it was my first event that I ever went to, but I think what I really enjoyed about it was we did it wasn't their direct action missions that they normally do, but it was something like that where we had to go into this building, fight off a couple of guys, get an injured person on a stretcher, and carry him down the stairs. It was like a separate training thing that we were doing. And like while the professionals were doing like the medical stuff, the people that were actually training, they just needed some people to shoot guns. And we're like, yeah, like absolutely, I'll do that. And I got to meet like again some really great people through that. And I think that just kind of sold the event for me, is that that was so freaking cool to do. If you go super far back on the channel, you can actually see the gameplay of that back from 2016. But yeah, AMS, the two AMS games that I've been to, one of the regular games and then one of their local games, I had a really good time at. It sucks that the AMS game was a pouring rain last time, but it's just such a shame. But I want to definitely get to more. It's just like one, there's not a lot of Milsim in the Northeast. I've noticed. Not a lot of bigger companies coming up here. It's nice that DFE is going to be here this weekend. It's nice that AMS is coming up. And I always hear people complain about this in the Northeast, but like we need to show up to these games and make it known that hey, there is the player base out here that will go to these bigger games. Otherwise, we're not going to see the growth here in the Northeast. It's going to continue to be these small providers that don't throw the scale of the games that we're looking for. So that's going to do it for today's video. As you can probably hear, my voice getting pretty cracky. I've been talking for almost an hour and a half now. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody that tuned in today. I know this was kind of like an impromptu live stream. I only announced it like yesterday afternoon. There will be a new video that comes up next week. Next Friday, we will be doing a brand new video. It's the review of the Elite Force MP5 Elites. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you're new here, I would love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below. And if you're already a subscriber, maybe consider becoming a channel member. It gives you some great perks. Not only do you get exclusive emojis that you can use in our live streams, but depending on what tier you are, you can also join, or you can also see videos early. Excuse me, I can't talk. So all those videos that I've been talking about today that are like in the pipeline will be available for people to watch before they go live. But anyways, guys, my name is Lane. I hope that you enjoy your weekend. I hope that you're able to go outside and swing some BBs. If you're going to be at Desert Fox events this weekend, come up, say hi. I'll be on the Southern Syndicate, the TAN team. But anyways, I will catch everybody later. See you guys next time.